Let's get right into it. 1. Why sleep changes after 70 and what your body is trying to tell you. Have you noticed that sleep doesn't feel the same anymore? Even though you're going to bed earlier and spending more hours in bed, you still wake up feeling heavy, foggy, like your mind never really rested. Sometimes you even doze off during the evening news, only to find yourself wide awake at 2 a.m., staring into the darkness, unable to fall back asleep. If this sounds familiar, please know this. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's not because you're weaker. And it's definitely not because you're old now and that's just how it is. The truth is, your body is changing and your sleep is quietly following suit. After age 70, something subtle yet profound begins to happen inside the brain. We start to lose a significant portion of deep sleep. That's the stage where the body heals most intensely. The heart gets its rest, the memory gets refreshed, and the cells undergo repair. But research shows that by the time we're in our 70s, we may have lost up to 40% of our deep sleep compared to when we were middle-aged. And that means, even if you're still getting the recommended 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night, without that precious, deep sleep, you may still wake up feeling exhausted, mentally drained, and emotionally flat. But that's not the whole story. Along with changes in the brain, melatonin, the hormone that makes us feel sleepy, also starts to rise earlier in the evening. Where you may have previously felt sleepy around 10 or 11 p.m., now that drowsiness might start around 8 p.m., or even earlier. That's not strange. That's your body's gentle whisper. It's letting you know it's ready to rest. But many of us have learned to ignore that signal. We think, it's only 8, way too early for bed. So we push ourselves to stay awake an hour, maybe 2, just to finish a favorite show, reply to some messages, or squeeze in a little quiet me time. And while we're clinging to our old routines, the body is patiently waiting for us to return to its new rhythm. I remember very clearly a patient of mine named Mr. Johnson, a 70-year-old retired history teacher. He came to see me one fall afternoon, his face tired, his eyes weary, and his voice low. I've been going to bed at 11 p.m., like I've done for years, but lately I just can't fall asleep. And when I wake up in the morning, I feel worse than before I went to bed. We talked for a while, and I ran a few simple checks. Then I told him, there's nothing wrong. Your body is still healthy. It's just the internal clock inside you has changed, but your sleep habits are still stuck in the past. I suggested he try something that sounded almost too simple. Go to bed at 9:30 p.m. every night. No late-night newspapers, no TV, just listen to your body. He laughed out loud. 9:30? That's when my grandson goes to bed. I smiled and said, just try it for 3 weeks. If nothing changes, we'll reassess. 3 weeks later, he came back, but this time he was a different man. He walked in lighter, his back straighter, his eyes brighter, and he said something I'll never forget. It's like someone flipped a switch back on in my head. He was sleeping well, waking up refreshed. He'd started going for morning walks again, something he hadn't had the energy for in years. And the most beautiful part? He felt alive again, not because of some pill or expensive therapy, but simply because he adjusted his bedtime. You see, your body after 70 isn't breaking down. It's not betraying you. It's simply trying, very gently, to tell you, time has changed. And maybe you should too. But if we keep clinging to old rhythms, it's like living in the wrong time zone. Everything feels off, out of sync, and harder than it should be. It's not because you're weak, it's because you're swimming upstream against your own body's current. And the beautiful truth is, it's not too late to adjust, not too late to get back in sync. You don't need sleeping pills. You don't need high-tech gadgets. All you need is to pay attention to that earlier wave of drowsiness each evening and stop pushing it away. Try welcoming it. Let your body lead the way. When you do, gently, respectfully, and without judgment, that's when deep sleep returns. And in the morning, you'll feel different. Not just in your body, but in your spirit, in the brightness of your eyes, and in the aliveness of your mind. Your body doesn't need to be controlled, it just needs to be heard. 2. The golden hour of sleep after 70, why 9 to 10 p.m. matters more than you think. There's something most doctors rarely talk about, yet it can completely transform how you sleep and how you feel each morning when you wake up. It's this: the time you go to bed may be just as important as how long you sleep. We're often told that getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep is enough, but if you go to bed at 11 p.m., midnight, or even 1 a.m., those 8 hours won't feel the same as sleeping from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Your body's circadian rhythm, the quiet internal clock that governs everything from digestion to brain repair, doesn't measure rest by the number of hours you sleep. It measures rest by when you fall asleep in relation to your natural biological rhythm. And after age 70, that rhythm has changed. Gently but unmistakably, your body has begun shifting its day-night cycle. And if you pay attention, you'll notice the feeling of drowsiness arrives earlier than it used to. It might start at 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m., a subtle wave, like a soft voice inside saying, "It's time to rest now." But most of us don't listen. We want to finish the show, read one more article, or we simply think it's not bedtime yet. And so we miss the most crucial window of all, the golden hour for deep, restorative sleep. Recently, a study at the Mayo Clinic caught the attention of sleep experts. Researchers followed more than 500 older adults who made one simple change. They moved their bedtime earlier, to between 9 and 10 p.m. The result was astonishing. They improved their sleep quality by up to 45%. Not just a little, not based on how they felt, but measurable results: more deep sleep, fewer night awakenings, and waking up clear-headed, refreshed, and full of energy. Why does something as small as bedtime make such a big difference? Because when you're in your 40s or 50s, your body typically releases melatonin, the sleep hormone, around 10 to 11 p.m. But by the time you're in your 70s, that schedule shifts. Melatonin starts flowing earlier, sometimes as early as 7:30 or 8 p.m. At the same time, cortisol, the hormone that wakes you up, also starts rising earlier in the morning. In other words, your body is now wired to rest earlier and rise earlier. But if you fight this rhythm, if you push past that natural drowsy window, you end up sleeping out of phase. That means you're trying to fall asleep when your body's already overtired, melatonin has dropped, and your prime recovery cycle has passed. I remember a very special patient, Mrs. Williams, age 76. She had lived with insomnia for over 40 years. She had tried everything: melatonin supplements, herbal teas, white noise machines, even bedtime meditation. Nothing worked. In a quiet moment during our session, she looked at me and whispered, "I've been going to bed at midnight since I was a teenager. I don't know how to sleep earlier." I smiled and said, "Maybe you don't have to fight anymore. Maybe you just need to stop pushing against the new rhythm your body's asking for." Together, we agreed to try something simple. She would get in bed by 9:30 p.m. every night for 3 weeks. No medication, no pressure, just walking alongside her body like walking with an old friend. 3 weeks later, she came back with a different look in her eyes. She sat down, tears welling up, and said, "I slept. For the first time in years, I truly slept." She described the joy of sleeping through the night. No tossing and turning, no dragging fatigue during the day. Her energy returned, her memory improved, even her emotions felt more stable. And it all began with one change: choosing the right time to rest. I know, to many people, going to bed at 9:30 p.m. might sound strangely early. You might think, only weak or sick people go to bed that early. But here's the truth. Feeling sleepy early isn't a sign of weakness. It's biological wisdom. It's your body tuning into itself, gently urging you to do what's right. And when you stop resisting it, when you stop waiting for that mythical second wind, which rarely comes at this age, that's when something magical happens. Deep sleep returns. At our clinic, we conducted a small survey. Over 500 older adults were guided to shift their bedtime to the 9 to 10 p.m. range. After just 6 months, the results were deeply moving. 80% said they fell asleep more easily. 75% woke up fewer times during the night. 70% reported waking up clear-headed and balanced. No one needed new medications. No one had to radically change their life. They simply chose the right time to rest. You see, sometimes it's the smallest shift, like the hour you go to bed, that can spark the biggest transformation. It's not magic, it's science, it's self-respect. And most of all, it's a reminder that at this stage of life, you don't have to push like you did at 30 or 40. You just need to walk in rhythm with your body, and suddenly everything becomes a little easier. 3. The healing power of sleeping on time. 3 life-changing benefits. When we think of sleep, we often imagine it as time off, a quiet break from the noise of life. But after the age of 70, sleep is no longer just a pause. It becomes a time of healing, a sacred ritual where your body, mind, and heart come together, if you choose the right moment to begin. You may have thought you were simply tired because of age, that your memory was slowing down because the brain gets old, that a quieter mood is just part of growing older. But the truth is, many of the things you're feeling are not inevitable. They can be improved, not with medication, not with complex treatments, but simply by sleeping at the right time. At my clinic, we've followed hundreds of older adults as they return to their body's natural sleep window, between 9 and 10 p.m. And what we discovered felt like opening a door. Sleeping on time unlocked 3 profound changes. First, it brought restoration to the heart. Your heart, faithfully beating for decades, needs rest too. The right kind of rest at the right time. When you go to bed around 9:30 p.m., your body has enough time to reset heart rhythms, naturally lower blood pressure, and bring the circulatory system into balance. Among those who followed the earlier sleep schedule, we saw a 45% reduction in cardiovascular issues. Blood pressure became more stable, heart rates more regular. Under their doctor's guidance, some patients were even able to lower the dose of heart medication they'd been taking for years. One man looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "I didn't know how tired my heart really was until it finally got to rest." Second, sleeping on time brought revival to memory. Do you remember when your mind felt sharp and alert, when you could recall the smallest details of your day? Many older adults worry when they begin forgetting appointments, repeating questions, or blanking on familiar names. And yes, it's scary, because it raises fears about things like dementia or Alzheimer's. But there is real hope, and it begins with your pillow at the right hour. I'll never forget the Thompsons, both in their 70s, who came to me deeply concerned. They said their memory had been slipping, missed medications, forgotten schedules, repeated conversations. But after committing to a regular 9:30 p.m. bedtime, things began to shift. 3 months later, a simple cognitive test showed a 32% improvement in memory for both of them. Mr. Thompson had returned to solving his beloved morning crossword puzzles, something he thought he no longer had the clarity for. Mrs. Thompson no longer forgot her medication. They looked at each other and smiled, like light had returned to a dim corner of their minds. You see, when you sleep on time, your brain enters a natural cleansing cycle. It's a real biological process that clears out waste built up during the day, including toxins linked to Alzheimer's. And in the deep silence of early sleep, memory has a chance to renew itself. And finally, sleeping on time brings something no pill or therapy can replace: emotional peace. At this stage in life, you don't just want to be physically well. You want to feel okay inside. You want mornings without heaviness. You want to wake without dread or fog. You want to feel, once again, like there's something worth looking forward to. These feelings aren't always clinical depression. Sometimes they're simply the result of a body that's never truly been rested. In our recent clinic survey, participants who kept a consistent 9 to 10 p.m. bedtime for just 6 weeks reported up to a 58% reduction in anxiety and depressive symptoms. They no longer felt mentally lost. They stopped dragging themselves through the mornings. Many told us, "It feels like I've come back to myself." Science now confirms that in the early hours of the night, especially between 9 p.m. and midnight, your brain performs what's called emotional cleansing. Just like washing away the day's dust from your skin, your brain does the same with emotional stress, pressure, and negative thoughts. But if you miss this golden window or go to bed too late, this process gets disrupted, and the next morning you wake up carrying everything you didn't get a chance to release. We also observed something fascinating. Going to bed on time helped stabilize blood sugar in people with diabetes, Those who slept early and consistently had more stable nighttime glucose levels. In some cases, under doctor supervision, they even reduced their insulin dosage. That's a powerful reward for anyone willing to trust their body and make a change. So if you've ever wondered, can something as simple as going to bed earlier really make a difference? The answer is yes, more than you imagine. Sleeping on time isn't just rest. It's medicine, unseen and unwritten, but capable of calming your heart, reviving your mind, healing your emotions, and lifting your whole being from the inside out. And the most beautiful part? You're never too old to start. You're never too late to feel better. 4. 5 simple habits to sleep soundly again, like you used to. As we step into the golden years of life, sleep often no longer comes as easily as it once did. The tossing and turning, the 2 a.m. awakenings, the grogginess even after a full night in bed. All of it can make you wonder, maybe I've lost the ability to sleep well forever. But if there's one thing I've learned after more than 2 decades helping older adults care for their sleep, it's this. Deep, restful sleep never disappears. It's simply waiting for you to return to its rhythm. And to do that, you don't need pills. You don't need expensive machines. You don't need to turn your life upside down. All you need are a few simple habits, gentle as breath, but when repeated each night, they can quietly open the door to the kind of sleep you thought was gone forever. Here are 5 habits I often share with my older patients. People who once believed they had lost sleep for good, but found it again through quiet persistence and kindness to their own bodies. 1. Honor your body's golden hour. Sleep between 9 and 10 p.m. If you remember only one thing, let it be this. Your body now wants to rest earlier than it used to. As melatonin, the sleep hormone, begins to rise earlier with age, feeling sleepy around 8:30 p.m. isn't a sign of decline. It's your circadian rhythm gently calling you home. Don't resist it. Don't stay up just to finish the episode or catch the late news. When you miss that first wave of sleepiness, it may not return as easily. But if you go to bed between 9 and 10 p.m., you'll more naturally fall into deep, uninterrupted sleep, and your body and mind will restore themselves more fully. Try this for just 2 to 3 weeks consistently. You may be surprised. Mornings become gentler, your mind sharper, your energy quietly restored. 2. Avoid caffeine and heavy meals in the evening. Many older adults don't realize that caffeine can stay in your system for 6 to 8 hours. That means a cup of coffee at 3 p.m. can still be disturbing your sleep at 9:30 p.m. Even a piece of chocolate or a cup of green tea can keep your body from fully winding down. And it's not just what you drink. Heavy dinners can make sleep restless. If your stomach is working overtime, your sleep won't be deep. So eat earlier, ideally at least 3 hours before bedtime, and keep it light and gentle. A bowl of soup, some rice and steamed vegetables, or if you're hungry close to bedtime, a banana, a few almonds, or a small glass of warm, unsweetened milk. These little things calm the stomach, and when the stomach is calm, the whole body can rest. 3. Dim the blue light. Let your body know. It's time to slow down. Our ancestors went to bed when the sun went down, and while we no longer live by candlelight, our brains still react to bright light as if it were broad daylight, especially the blue light from TVs, phones, and tablets. This type of light suppresses melatonin and confuses your body into thinking it's not time to sleep yet. One of the most powerful changes you can make is to start dimming your lights after 7:30 p.m. Turn off bright overhead lights, use warm-colored lamps, and if you can, put your phone and iPad away at least 45 minutes before bed. Soft lighting doesn't just ease your eyes, it signals your brain. The world is slowing down. It's time to rest. 4. Create a gentle wind-down ritual. Before bed, we would never expect a child to fall asleep immediately after doing homework. We sing to them. We read stories. We comfort them into slumber. But somewhere along the way, we forget that we too need to be soothed. Whether we're 7 years old or 70, before getting into bed, spend 20 to 30 minutes doing something gentle. Read a few pages of a book, listen to soft music, sit quietly with a cup of herbal tea and a warm light. Stretch gently and thank your body for getting you through the day. Avoid heavy conversations. Avoid stressful news. Avoid your to-do list. Don't bring the weight of the world into bed. Bring peace instead. 5. Put the phone down. Choose stillness over screens. This may be the hardest habit of all, but it's also one of the most powerful. Looking at your phone before bed is like inviting a noisy crowd into your bedroom. The quick videos, the nonstop updates, the flood of images, all of it gives your brain no time to unwind. Try putting your phone away at least 30 minutes before you hope to sleep. Yes, at first it may feel empty, but in that quiet space, something magical happens. Your breath slows, your thoughts soften, and sleep arrives gently, like a lullaby. Let night be what it was meant to be, a place where you stop chasing the world and return to yourself. You see, there's nothing too big here, just a handful of small things, repeated with care. But those small things become real magic, because sleep isn't something you force, it's a gift you invite in. By living in rhythm, gently, at the right time, and you deserve to receive it. That deep, peaceful, easeful sleep. The kind you used to know in your younger years. If this message touched something in you, if it inspired you to try just one small change tonight, leave a comment with the words, "Good sleep," not just as a promise to yourself, but as a quiet signal to someone out there who's also searching for hope. Because maybe, just maybe, one small word could be the beginning of the restful night they've been longing for. The kind of silence that keeps you awake and the healing power of connection. There's something I've come to understand after more than 20 years working with older adults. It's not in any medical textbook. It doesn't appear on prescriptions. But I've seen it more often than any other symptom. Loneliness. And no one tells you this. But loneliness is the most persistent, quiet thief of sleep, especially after the age of 70. You can go to bed at the right time, turn off all the lights, avoid caffeine, even practice meditation, and still not find true rest. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because inside there's a quiet space that hasn't been touched. Many of my patients began losing sleep not after getting sick, but after losing their spouse. Some experienced it when their children moved out, leaving the house too quiet. Some hadn't lost anyone, but the evenings suddenly felt longer, as if time itself was stretching out to expose a silence they'd never had to face before. I remember Eliza, an 81-year-old woman with soft wrinkles and a voice that still carried the warmth of a storyteller. She told me, "I used to fall asleep so easily when he was here, but since he left, I still go to bed at the same time. Same bed, same cup of herbal tea, but I just close my eyes. I don't really sleep." I asked if she ever felt afraid. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said softly, "Not afraid, just too quiet." That too quiet feeling. That's the reason many can't sleep deeply anymore. There's no one to say good night. No one's breath beside you. No voice whispering your name in the dark. So even if the body's ready to rest, the heart stays awake. And when the heart is still awake, sleep cannot be whole. Science calls this chronic social stress, a subtle form of emotional strain that quietly erodes health from the inside. It raises cortisol, the stress hormone, at night. It makes it harder for melatonin to rise, and it turns sleep into something fragile, like old glass that shatters easily. So what do we do when loneliness can't be treated with pills? When longing can't be chased away with tea or deep breathing? I don't have a perfect formula, but I've seen small, gentle changes that work better than any sleeping pill. I've seen an elderly man start writing a short journal each night, just a few lines to say goodnight to his late wife. He said, "Once I write, then I can close my eyes." I've seen a 73-year-old woman adopt a stray cat, and from then on, she was never alone in the silence again. One gentleman started calling an old friend every evening, just to ask, "How was your day?" And someone once left the words, "Good sleep," under a health video I'd posted, and received a reply from a stranger. They became pen pals, sharing stories each night before bed. You see, sometimes one small act of connection, at the right moment, can soothe the heart more than any prescription, and when the heart is comforted, when you no longer feel alone, sleep returns. Not sleep to escape the world, but sleep to feel safe within it, to be held, to be at peace. So if you're hearing these words and your restlessness hasn't come from pain or illness, but from a quiet emptiness inside, please know you are not alone. There are thousands of others out there also trying to find their way back to restful sleep, taking the same small, honest steps, full of hope. If tonight your heart feels a little still, try something gentle. Write "good sleep" in the comments of this video, not just for others, but for yourself. A way to close this day not in silence, but in connection. And if you believe that deep rest can return, not through willpower, but through kindness to yourself, leave the word peace in the comments below. Just one word, but sometimes that's enough to remind us we're still here, together, and there are still many peaceful nights ahead. Dear friend, if you've watched this far, I believe you're not just looking for better sleep. You're looking for a gentler, more peaceful way to live in this beautiful season of life. And I hope that after today's video, you've gained something truly practical. An understanding of the ideal sleep hours after 70, the quiet biological shifts happening inside your body, and most importantly, how to care for yourself through small, loving habits. The greatest lesson we can take from this isn't found in medical books. It lies in how we listen to our bodies, how we honor their unique rhythm, and how we soften toward the changes that feel unavoidable. Because sometimes all it takes is sleeping at the right time, and the heart finds its rest, the mind regains its clarity, and the soul begins to heal. If this video gave you something valuable, a new perspective, a small step you're ready to try tonight, or simply the comfort of knowing you're not alone, I warmly invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Leave a message, or even just a single word like grateful, good sleep, or peace. A tiny signal, but one that might bring warmth to someone else who's quietly searching, just like you. And if you'd like to support this channel so we can continue creating more healing, helpful content like this for others, you can click the Super Thanks button right below this video. Every contribution, no matter how small, is a priceless encouragement to our team. Right now, you'll see another video on your screen, where we continue sharing important insights about health, memory, mental clarity, and joyful aging. Or you can explore the recommended section to the side, where topics are personalized just for you. And always remember, sleep isn't the end of a day, it's the beginning of a new one. A day full of strength, clarity, and quiet hope. Caring for your sleep is caring for yourself, and you deserve that, today and every day ahead. See you in the next video. Wishing you a peaceful night